Hello, everybody. It's me, Carmine DeStefano, the Bookman, your Bookman, and I just finished Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. Here's my review. Like any other game, it's kind of fun. It does harken back to the original Nintendo Entertainment System games that I played when I was a kid. So a little bit of history with this. The Game Kitchen is the main developer of Blasphemous and Blasphemous 2, and Tecmo, of course, owns Ninja Gaiden. They were the original creators of the arcade game that became the NES trilogy. From my experience, and I've been playing video games for over 40 years, the first time there were cutscenes that were of any significance, it was the Ninja Gaiden series on the Nintendo Entertainment System, from what I can remember. Now, I know that a lot of the nerds here on YouTube want to act like the video game industry didn't start till the PlayStation 1 or 2. There were 20 years before that or so where we had far better games because they were fun, they were innovative, and this was one of them. Cutscenes. You got through certain acts to see what was happening next. Now, obviously the story was about demons taking over the world, an alien space cruiser or something. There was just a bunch of stuff that didn't really make any legitimate sense when it came to reality or whatever. But they were fun, and they didn't take up the brunt of the game. The action did. So this goes through that same vein where it seems as though it's taking place alternatively to when Ryu Hayabusa was tracking down the demon statues and everything like that from the original game. He makes appearances, but he's not the main character. You play as Kenji and Komori. Kenji is a Dragon Clan Hayabusa acolyte student trying to become a ninja himself, and Komori is of the Spider Clan, which is a rival clan that apparently likes to do things for money. Whatever the case, the differentiation in controls from the two characters that you play was a nice change of pace. The action is very hectic. Excuse me. Very fast-paced, like it was, or fast-paced, like it was in the original games, where there is trial and error, but at least in normal difficulty, there are very forgivable checkpoints, which heal you. So that's nice. Jeez, excuse me. But the game itself does have some enemies that can be a pain in the ass. There are dudes with shields that spikes on them. There are people with flamethrowers. There are people that throw knives. Most of the demons are pretty straightforward, but when you get to the soldiers later in the game, that is a pain in the ass. However, none of the challenge really seems as if it's unfair. Now, I didn't take on the extra levels that you unlock, I assume, with fulfilling challenges in each area. But from what I have experienced, a lot of the actual level challenge is pretty fair and balanced. It's challenging, but it's fair and balanced. Some of these boss fights can eat shit because they are way too difficult. And it's not even as if they're way too difficult because their attack patterns, whatever. It's mostly due to the fact that, and this is just bad game design, guys, and as I go back to playing From Software games, sooner or later, this is something that's going to come up. You cannot have someone trapped in a very tight mechanic space and then have bosses or enemies, for the most part, that are all over the place. That's garbage. And when you require the player, as you can hear with my voice and all the clearing of my throat and how hoarse it sounds, everything, this kind of drives me nuts. When you require the player to get cadences and movesets on the first, second, or even third try. Because after that, for me at least, somebody who doesn't accept losing, even though I lose mostly in life, and somebody who has no patience and tolerance for anything, it's asking for a lot to maintain your sanity and your focus when you have about a hair length worth of maneuverability in what these enemies are doing. It also sucks when their health bars take at least 8,000 hits, or so it seems, to deplete it till they're dead and you can move on. Whereas you have 5 or 6 hits you can take. So you can't make any mistakes. And when you're playing through the game the first time, checkpoints, all those little areas and aspects and everything that you can sort of maneuver your way to so that you don't have to do everything over again. When you get to boss fights that require button mashing, not role-playing, turn-based strategy where you can sort of plot things out and everything, but button mashing. And your healing is more or less predicated to whether or not you have your pinkish, mauvish meter full, and you can only do it. It's not even that. The healing concept is this thing called, I forgot, it's some kind of art, sacred art, spirit art, whatever the hell it is, where it only happens once every life that you can perform an even really strong attack, either that or a healing attack, if you choose which one you want. It's not reliable because it only happens once. So you have to plan out when you're going to use that. Another problem, too, is that you do have some kind of hypercharge, which can slice through any enemy with one hit, and it does serious damage to demons or bosses in general. It also knocks them back and kind of makes them sort of muddled for a while. The problem is that if you don't get it from one of the enemies and you charge it yourself, it takes health away. So these are things that make the idea of balance go and turn on its head. It's with these bosses, it took me at least 40 minutes to destroy one of the last 2 bosses and about 15-20 minutes to destroy the last one. Now, that, considering the boss before it, which was killing me with these little ionic charge ball shits or whatever it was, that, the last boss, was almost like a godsend. And the game, I don't want to say ends abruptly, but it's kind of short. There are only 4 acts. Now, there are a lot of portions to that 4th act, but there are only 4 acts. The original NES versions of the Ninja Gaiden series games were 6. Could have been moved to 5, but with the special missions, I guess that would be about 5 or 6 acts. But even so, in either way, ultimately what you do is you get to choose who survives and you get a different ending. What the best ending is, I don't know. Would I play the game again? Absolutely. Me being sort of, not a completionist, but I love a challenge. I do want to go back and reorganize myself as a player of this game and try to get all the skulls and all the scarabs and get all the challenges, knowing what they are and that they are an aspect of the game. So yeah, I would play it again. It is fun. It's just that when you fight those 2 bosses, you can really deal with a lot of trial and error, and I don't have the tolerance for that. Now, to be fair, this is a Game Kitchen game, and Blasphemous 2 seemed to have some terrible boss fights as well, and then I played through the game from the beginning again and found some extra areas and mea culpas or whatever it was in that game, built up my weaponry and everything, and I did have an easier time knowing the bosses the second go-around. So perhaps with the challenge that I had to go through to get to the end of the game, the bosses earlier in the game will not only be easier for me, but will help me become a better player later on, that those final 2 bosses aren't such a pain in the ass. But this is the second game in a row that I played where the challenge was seemingly balanced. Now, Donkey Kong Bonanza is just a phenomenal game. And although it's very approachable, it's not incredibly easy. It's just that it went from bosses were somewhat challenging and thought-provoking to, oh my goodness, this is just way too much. This game, when I heard Game Kitchen and Tecmo, I went, what am I going to put myself through if I get this game? And then when I saw someone playing it, I said, oh, okay, I'll get it anyway. It is a match made in hell, no pun intended, more or less. But ultimately, Game Kitchen makes good games, fun games, enjoyable games, and not just Dark Souls ripoffs. And Tecmo was a tremendous company. Tecmo Koei, I guess they're called now. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm pretty sure I'm not. They also make good games. They make a lot of the Warriors games, or they make the Warriors games. And I've played a bunch of those. I love the Warriors games. Love them until a certain point. Until it becomes button mashing for 4.5 hours on one map. That's when I get a little out of hand with my own emotional explosions and everything. But for the most part, I do love their mechanics. I do love their hack and slash type style and everything. They, when I was a kid, made sports games that were really good too. So I would like to see if they would go back to that. There were a lot of companies that made sports games when I was a kid that don't make them anymore. They've pretty much been monopolized. But for the most part, they were a really reputable company, one that you can respect, one that you can honor. They are Japanese, after all, and one that usually brought you quality games when I was a kid. So it's good to see that they're still hanging around. Will I ever play any of these Ninja Gaiden Black games or whatever? I don't know. I emphasize the A. I made it strong on the second word, not the first one. So it sounded like I said Ninja Gaiden Block. It's Ninja Gaiden Black. I don't know. I know that they were re-released on the Switch 1, which I can play on the Switch 2. But with this game, if you've never played a Ninja Gaiden game before, but you don't mind ridiculous challenge, I would definitely suggest it. If you want a nice side-scrolling, action-paced game, it's only $24.99, so why not, right? It's a good game. It's quality. It's polished. I had one problem with the second to last boss where I tried to skip a cutscene and it just put me in a pause menu I couldn't get out of. That was the only issue. So it's polished. Game Kitchen, you can trust. Tecmo, you can trust. These are good companies. It was a great collaboration. I would really like to see another one of these. I would definitely get it. I would love to see another Blasphemous because I'm sick, but this is a good game. This is a polished game. This is a quality game. It's well done. Those last two bosses can be a real bitch and a half, but it's still a really good game. So I would definitely suggest it. If you want nothing to do with Maddening Challenge, don't get this game. Don't even bother because it will drive you crazy. I thank you all for watching. I have more for you soon to come. Stay tuned, take care, and have a great day.